86, I try and keep up with the aging process by being a very positive, mindful person. Most of the time it works to keep me going, but sometimes it doesn't, ladies. And we're going to talk about one of those days that happened to me. You know, when you get to be in your what I'm going to call super ager years, and those are the years, whether you're in your 60s, your 70s, or your 80s, you're still going strong. You're finding things to keep you happy. You have hobbies. You stay active. Your mind is still learning all the time. And that's what I call a super ager. And most of the time, we can create that kind of atmosphere. And sometimes the body doesn't always want to cooperate. And that's what gets us off track every once in a while, as I'm sure you've all discovered too. Well, as you know, I turned 86 and boom, everything happened with the body. The arthritis set in the shoulders. I had it in my hand. I've always had little bouts of things, but this time it's almost constant. And you have no alternative, really. What's the alternative? To just sit and feel sorry for yourself? No way. We can't do that. We have to find something that motivates us. And that's called mindfulness. Now you have to use your own energy and your mind and your will. You make choices to do this. Now let's discuss what is mindfulness or a positive mindset. That sounds so professional, doesn't it? But really, that's what it's all about at this stage of the game. Now, we hear people all the time talk about slowing down the aging process, with one theory or another. And the only way I can see it happening in real life, and this talk is all about aging reality, really. I don't want to sugarcoat anything, really. But I'm blessed. I'm one of the ones, I think, that is a little ahead of the game, mainly because of I've been blessed with good genetics, or something has happened somewhere in my life that is enabling me to be as active, it's not all the time, as I am at this stage of the game. And happy, by the way. And the happiness is due to many, many things. My long marriage, our big family, and the fact that I have so many hobbies and so many interests, and I'm so curious about so many things. I think that keeps the old mind going. But the body is not always cooperating. Now, I'm going to talk about what happened to me last week. Normally, when I get up in the morning and I go into the bathroom and I look at that face and I get my face washed or a shower, whatever it's going to be. And then I get going with the lymphatic drains, get my face a little less puffy, and my nose will start running. Then I can get going to do what's called I call them the repetitive things that I have to do every single day. And most of us do these same things. And number one, that's taking care of my Moosey. I am a caregiver to Moosey, and I think you've all known this, that 5, 6, 7 years ago, he did have a stroke, various other things. He had a bad hip break, and he has been semi-immobile since then, using a roller to get around. He doesn't have any balance. So that does limit what he can do around here. And I've been, thank God, able to pick up the slack all these years since. However, every once in a while, I have one of those days where my mind cannot pull me up and get me into that mindset of positivity. No way. And I just shut down. And I've come to the conclusion that when that happens to us, ladies, we should forgive ourselves. Why should we have guilt about that? I can't see any reason in the world. It's part of preservation, and it's actually what keeps me going. Now, as long as I can pull out of that funk and get back into the process of helping slow aging going along, that's fine. And up to now, when I've had these bouts, it's like time out for Nanny, and I'm out for the count. Okay, just let's run through some of the little points or the rules for positive mindset. It's kind of like a buzzword that everybody throws around, but what is it really? All right, it's you getting control of your emotions, your body, your physical appearance, your mental appearance, your spiritual mindset as well. And number one, that is choosing, and it's all about choices, to try and be as happy as you can that day and do it one day at a time. And that day, when you look in the mirror in the morning, you say, today I will be blah, 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 or I will do this. And it's setting a few goals, small goals, if you're up in those elder years, not big ones, but little ones. And I don't always accomplish what I say I'm going to do that day. Many times I don't. The purging is one example. That gets done and then it stops and it stops. I don't know in my lifetime whether I'll ever finish it, but that's another video. So we are going to try and minimize stress. Now, I'm a worrier. I've always been a worrier, and you can't help that. And you have to not let it get to a point where it's going to rule your life. There's many things you really don't have any control over. So let them go. Just let it go. All right, some other things that I've mentioned on here. Tips for being in a mindful state. Stay active. Get some hobbies going. Start learning something. Get some love for yourself going. That's a big thing. Know that you are enough. I think Oprah Winfrey said that, and I just love that. I am enough. 3 words. So once we get minimizing our stress, once we find what makes us happy and start doing those, whether it's reading a book, whether it's working in the garden, whether it's helping other people, volunteering, if you're a little more active, get that going. It's also keeping a healthy lifestyle going, and I've mentioned some of these here in my list. Stay connected with family or friends. I know a lot of people say, I'm all alone, but I'm happy that way. I hope you are, but if not, there's many ways you can get out in the world and connect with other people, especially family. And of course, we have all sorts of being connected on the internet with family if they're far away, or friends. Create some positive emotions. Start thinking of good things, either things that have happened in your past life or things that you'll like to be doing in the future. Don't sweat the small stuff. My father and mother always used to say that to me when I was young because I was a worrier, worried about not having enough ink in my inkwell. When I was in 3rd grade, we had these pens that you had to dip in the ink. And I remember the nun saying, no, Mary Ellen, we only fill up the inkwells on Fridays. And I didn't have enough ink to last me to Friday. I was a wreck. I couldn't go to school the next morning because I worried about my inkwell. That's me. I'm not quite as bad now, but almost. Well, you know the drill by now. A positive mindset is all the good stuff that you try and fill your head with. And if your body's aching that morning, take a Tylenol. I know it helps my shoulders, it helps my knees, and definitely exercise. Even if it's just sitting on the tailgate of the van and swinging my legs or doing a few bed exercises with my knees, they have been helping me. I know I will have this pain the rest of my life because it's arthritis, bone on bone, pretty much everywhere. But I'm hoping that I can control it. It's not going to control me. Let's put it that way. All right. So now we have all this mindfulness ready to go. We're ready and raring to go. Mary Ellen's going to have a good day today. Well, guess what? Sometimes it does not work. And I'm going to tell you about a day that happened. I'll try and do it quickly. You know what happens to you on one of those days where you're done for the, what do they say? You're done for the day. The count. You're done for the count. And when that happens to me, I head for my happy place, and that's in my bed. Now, for many reasons, I love my bed. I love it because I can put my feet up. I do my editing there. I do so many things in bed. And if Moosey's out here in the living room watching sports, I'm in there doing my thing. And we're only 20 feet apart anyway. But whether I go to sleep and I try or I just lie there, I try and force myself not to think about negativity. And that happened to me one day last week. Early in the morning, I did too much. I was trying to purge in the shed and pull some things all the way out so that I could get in there. And we keep pretty much everything in there. We have such a small space here in the little 100-year-old cottage that a lot of my excess goes out to the shed. And it's a big shed. I have out-of-season clothing and a lot of things in there. Well, I got a lot of stuff out and I thought, oh, I'm going to get all my winter clothes, my blazers, my winter coats and everything out on a rack. I have an extra rack out there and I'm going to air everything nicely and then I'm going to put them in the closets that are in the shed. Well, I did a lot of bugger lugging and lifting and in heavy coats and whatever. Got them all hung up on the racks outside, pulled a lot of the tubs, which I do, but I'm much more careful now. I don't want to fall anymore. I've had my share of falls and got everything out. And I guess they were out for 3 hours until Moosey said, I just read a weather report and it's going to rain starting in the middle of the night. Oh, I thought to myself, and I looked at all the stuff I'd pulled out and I couldn't face it. Either it was going to rain completely on my clothes and ruin everything I'd pulled out in the fresh air, or I could not bring myself to put that stuff away. I became so dejected at that point, and my body was aching that day anyway, because the day before we had been to the dental college, and I had been pushing Moosey around in the wheelchair, and it was just a bit much. So the shoulders were aching. But I'd taken my Tylenol, I thought, so I sort of just collapsed and I went into my happy place bed and stayed there most of the day. I kept thinking, unfortunately, had such negative thoughts about what I had to do if I didn't want my clothes wrecked. I had to do that. Not only that, but Moosey had some kind of something that he wanted me to run down to the bank. And I had to do something at the bank. I had to put some clothes on, and then I had to figure out what we were going to have for supper. So all in my sleeping on and off, I had such a negative day. I could not pull upon that positive mindfulness for love nor money. Worried all day long. The stress was awful, and I just couldn't pull out of it. I did get up about 4 o'clock. I put some clothes on, ran down to the bank, did what I had to do there. I also needed some lettuce for what I was doing for supper. I ran through there, and my body was aching. I almost was at the point where I thought if I took another step, I'd collapse. Somehow I got home and decided that we were going to have an early supper because if I went back to bed, there was no way we would eat that night. So I went into the kitchen and I made something very simple, standing at the counter with my body. Somehow my body must have been driving my mindset that day. And I could hardly get off my feet to get into bed. Okay, so that's the end of my bummer day. So I am not apologizing to myself. I am saying you deserved to rest that day. You needed that day, Nanny. And I have no guilt about that day, and I want you to feel the same way. If something like this happens to you, my friends, don't feel guilt, mainly because you might have let someone down. I still was able to do what I needed to do for Moosey. The only person I was letting down was me. But I realized afterward that I needed that time to decompress, that my body and my mental state, physical state, mental state, were just not working. And this is the way that I find I can decompress And I have no regrets of having a day like that. I forgive myself for it. And all I know is that the next day I can get back into the swing of pulling myself together, convincing myself that I have to get into that positive mindset and that that next day is going to be a good one. And you know what? It was. So there's my story. I am calling it What a Difference a Day Makes. No guilt. Take that time out when you need it. And the rest of the time, try and stay in a positive mindset. So we're still going to throw those words around, ladies and gents. And that's my story. What else can I say? So if you've been in this state and these things happen to you, and by the way, it's going to happen more frequently as we age. We are in those super years, at least I am, and I know that I will have many more days like this, and I'll just learn to go with the flow. As long as I can keeping my face lymphatically drained, because it's working. And by the way, I will just wipe my nose for a little bit because it's draining. And I've also taken my prune juice today. You know, all these things have to keep working with the body in order to feel good. That's the other thing. When you get up in the morning and you look in your face and you wash your face and everything, you know you're going to have a better day if you have an elimination that day, because it makes you feel so much better. And so many other things about your body. Your body is controlling you at this point, so you can't give in to it. That's the point. I hope you could take some of this story of mine to heart, ladies. I know it happens to all of you. And my whole message is forgive yourself. Don't feel that you've done something bad or something that you shouldn't. You deserve it. Love yourself. Try and stay in a happy, positive mindset by some of those things that I mentioned. What positive mindset is all about. It's simple. And as I often say, it's not rocket science. Thanks so much for watching, for binging. And by the way, I want to tell many of you, we have a lot of new viewers and subscribers over the past month. And you've been watching another hair video. You love the hair stuff. And it's been binging a little bit, and that's been driving up our numbers. But I want to tell those of you who, when one of my videos appears on your up next or a suggested video, if you like me and you want to subscribe to our channel, I have made in 4 years 476 videos. I can't believe that. Our kids are so proud of us, and I just don't know what I talked about all that time. Everything from family to sorrow and pets and hair and body and pain and you name it. I somehow just kept doing 2 a week, and I'm pretty proud of myself. But go to my homepage, Nanny and the Moose YouTube. If you go on Google, that's how you find my homepage. And then you check on videos, and boy, if you go down that list, I've talked about my childhood and what has made me who I am today, my family, my mom and dad, my brothers. I've talked about our marriage all through the years we've lived in Europe. We've lived San Francisco, back east in New Jersey, where we're from. So many things that I've had videos on. Videos that I hope inspire you all. And that was originally, we decided to do this for posterity for the kids. And then so many of you lovely people started subscribing. And I realized that we all had something in common. And I'm trying to be inspirational as much as I can. And you got to know the bad stuff as well as the good stuff. And I think I've managed to show you that aging is reality, and it's got the good and the bad to it. So thank you all so much for watching our videos. We both appreciate it so much. And I'll see you soon again. Stay positive. And if you have a bad day, go ahead. Take it. I love you. And God bless us all.